The football gods have a way of humbling. The Detroit Lions were the toast of the NFC after the 49ers had a shaky performance. The Eagles lose to the Jets. People looking around going, hey, why not the Lions? The Baltimore Ravens said, hey, why don't we beat them down? A 38-6 absolute manhandling in a game that was over at halftime. It was 28-0 at halftime, and honestly did not even feel that close. Kevin Oestreicher from Locked On Ravens joins me now. And Kevin, this was the Lamar Jackson, hey, remember me, I'm still really good game. So what clicked for them offensively in this one?
Well, I think the short answer, Peter, is everything. And you're right. The game wasn't even just over by halftime. It was over by midway through the second quarter. I mean, the Ravens had 21 points in under 18 minutes. The Lions had to start going for it on fourth down midway through the second quarter. Their own, I think, 49-yard line. It was 4th and 8. They were already down by 28 points. The Ravens offense had been looking for consistency. They had been, they were either really good in the first half and then struggled in the second half, or they started slow and then picked it up as the game went on. We hadn't seen a full 60-minute consistent effort, and I think this was more than that. The Ravens end up actually winning the coin toss and electing to receive, which usually, today's game does not happen very often. But the Ravens offense starts off with a statement, and they carried that statement throughout. Lamar Jackson, over 350 yards passing, 4 total touchdowns, looked dialed in the entire game. I have to give a shout out to the offensive line too. They gave him time in the pocket, and when he was able to escape and make other things happen, guys like Zay Flowers and Mark Andrews, Gus Edwards had an 80-yard reception. He averaged 80 yards per catch in this game off of a one reception. So Baltimore's offense, I think, needed this game. There were a couple of games early on in the season, the Colts game, for example, the Steelers game, where they had started to show something, but then a turnover or sloppiness or drops ended up being their undoing. But this was a consistent effort. Only one turnover was the fumble when the game was already out of hand, 28-0, so it didn't really matter. But I think this can be a building block for the Ravens offense moving forward, especially as they round out this 3-game NFC stretch against both the Cardinals and the Seahawks, because they have to bye pretty late in the whole process. So it'll be nice for them to maybe rattle off some more wins, but this was a nice stepping stone for Baltimore's offense.
I think it would be easy to just overlook the defensive performance here, holding the Detroit Lions to 6 points, by far their worst performance of the season so far. And that's with a Ravens team that has already been banged up on defense, though they're getting a resurgent Jadeveon Clowney season. He's just come in and looked awesome. Patrick Queen somehow turning his career around this season. Kevin, what defensively were they able to do to keep this team at bay that basically for the last calendar year, no one has been able to stop?
Yeah, and I think part of that, you mentioned it, Peter, is the play they're getting out of some of these free agents they signed either very late in August or during the season. Not only Jadeveon Clowney, who you mentioned is having a great season, but Arthur Millette, who they signed from the Steelers. He's been playing great in the slot. Kyle Van Noy, they signed him literally less than a month ago. He had 2 sacks in this game. I believe he had 2 sacks last game too. He's played really well, and that was against his former team in Detroit, who he played for early in his career. But other than that, I think the play they've gotten from those guys, plus guys like Roquan Smith balling out, Patrick Queen looks great, Kyle Hamilton's taken a second-year leap. They've been able to weather the storm of losing Marcus Williams to 2 injuries now through 6 weeks, 7 with this game. He also had Marlon Humphrey miss the start of the season, and a couple other guys like Odafe Owe go down and have to miss some time, but they're now getting a lot healthier. Really only Marcus Williams is out with an injury that's not season ending. So at this point, the Ravens defense has established themselves. They've kind of been dragging this offense, the inconsistency of the offense across the finish line in a lot of these games. But I think the encouraging part for the Ravens, at least, is that it wasn't just the defense this time. The offense played complementary football to their defensive unit, and it's given players like Roquan Smith and all those guys on the defensive line a break. They've gotten a big breakout year from Justin Madubuike. Geno Stone is the NFL's interception leader right now with 4. Not necessarily these big star household names that you're used to seeing in those categories. So I think there's an all-around effort from this defense. Jared Goff looked like he didn't know what he was doing out there. And I give Jared Goff credit. He's looked like a borderline top 10, top 12 guy this year, but he had no answers for this Ravens defense. I think the Ravens defense is playing with a chip on their shoulder, and it's clearly worked because they're one of the best units in football right now.